Hello and welcome to this next special interview ahead of NoVacancy Hotel and Accommodation Industry Expo London, taking place in February 25th, 26th in Excel London. I'm Dan Assor, the event director, and I'm privileged today to be able to spend some time with Charlie Osmond, who is the co-founder of Triptease. Good afternoon, or actually good morning, because you're in New York City. Charlie.
Hello, good day to you.
Well, good day. That's more of an Australian.
It is. I was just trying to find a way that worked for both of us.
Nice to see you. By the powers of technology, we're beaming from the UK to the US. We're going to talk all things AI and direct bookings, Charlie. But before we do so, I'm sure they're few and far between. But for those that aren't aware, could you sort of introduce yourself and Triptease, please?
Oh, I'm sure plenty of people who don't know Triptease yet, but they should and they will. Triptease, we basically spent the last decade focused on helping hotels increase direct bookings. And the way we do it is we track every little bit of the guest buying journey, all of those interactions that they have with the hotel brand, whether it's on their website, booking engine, or offsite with adverts and the like. We're tracking that, picking up data points about what people are doing and why, and then we use that data to personalize the experience on the hotel website and booking engine, to personalize marketing messages so that they're more likely to book direct. Because we've long known that hoteliers really value that direct connection with guests, and that guests ideally would like to book direct. And so we're really trying to help facilitate that.
Thank you. We're going to dive straight in. I've got two letters which are thrown around every minute of the day, A and I, in every business. Never mind in the hospitality sector. And I want to talk about the reality of AI in the booking journey, because there's lots of noise, right? Podcasts like this, articles, all sorts going on around AI transforming hotel booking. But you and your team are sort of ground level in the weeds. You're speaking to hoteliers on a daily basis. From your vantage point, how much is it really changing the landscape right now? Hotel booking.
So many wonderful different ways to approach this. So let's start with some data. So because we're sitting across like 12,500 hotel websites, and we're tracking all the guests' interactions and what happens and how people find them. And so what we're seeing today is less than 0.25% of traffic coming to hotel websites is coming from directly from AI chatbots. So 0.25, so a very small proportion. It's growing quickly, but it still remains very small. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, because you might be starting your sort of inquisition and research phase as a guest in ChatGPT or Gemini or something, and then doing the research, but then later going direct or just direct to a hotel website. So there might be sort of hidden bits, but I guess I wanted to ground it in that number, because I think it's easy to lose perspective, because AI is all we all talk about all day. Right now, if you're thinking about how am I going to get things to my hotel on my hotel website in 2026, the answer is you're far more likely to drive that by doing things in social media or using traditional channels on Google in 2026 than you are by completely changing everything to sort of focus on the AI guest booking journey. So I think that's worth having in mind, given we're all getting carried away with the excitement. Now, having said that, the rate of growth, and obviously just that, we've all experienced it, right? The complete change in the way that you interact with digital tools and information online, that's not going anywhere. That's only going to increase, and this shift is happening. So obviously we want to be prepared and thinking about the future. But the first thing I think to have in people's minds as a hotelier, you're busy managing the property, the space, all the issues that come up day to day. You have got a little bit of time to kind of decide, do I want to be the absolute early adopter here in this AI world, or am I happy to see how things evolve? Because there's so many unknowns in how guests will transition from ChatGPT to making a booking, and how that will be different from people on Gemini or on Google using AI tools into making a booking. So many unknowns that, like, trying to guess the future and be at the cutting edge isn't going to be right for most hoteliers, is the truth. So I guess my first thing is just trying to make sure that everyone has a calm approach to it and thinks about what's really going to drive my performance next year, and then making sure you're making investments and bets and some research in how we're going to be ready for kind of a bigger wave that will come thereafter in terms of AI bookings. So that's a starting point. There are many more bits I can dive into, but
yeah, no, sure. It's interesting because I was thinking ahead of this, like how I'm currently looking at my travel arrangements, and I think you make a good point. It's definitely more on the discovery phase, I think. But then you talk about data, so perhaps it's back to that sort of direct marketing question of the last click attribution. So it may well be that it is a point. I can't remember the exact stat you said, percentage. Still the discovery phase, but the discovery phase is still important, right? Than the actual booking. And I guess is it hard? Can that be monitored? I don't know how easy that is to monitor.
No, I think that's really best estimates is kind of the best you can do. Well, there are a whole bunch of people around this world who've agreed to have their computers tracked, right? Everything they do on their website, so you can find out, you can get some extra insight from that. But I mean, there's and don't get me wrong, it's absolutely a good time to be thinking about what should we be doing here. It's just, I think people need to phase their stages. Like, for example, I've seen some hoteliers talking to us recently about, should we be making sure that our hotel is bookable via a third-party service on a LLM? And the question you've got to ask yourself is, well, what's a guest doing today? And the answer is, guests today are simply not using MCP servers to make bookings. That's not happening. That really is unlikely to happen in the next 6 to 12 months at any kind of scale. So if you're thinking about, well, what can I be doing? I think the first thing is, ultimately, it's the tried and true advice of, if you're doing the kinds of things that make you do well in SEO, right? If you've got a good website, it's got good structure, it's got recent content on it, and it's accurate. If you just do those things well, that's probably step number one for appearing in the research phase in the generative engines. And then I think the other thing is getting ready for what is coming. And for us, being ready for what is coming is all about getting hold of your data and making sure you've got really good quality data about what kind of guests are coming to my website, what are they doing, why are they buying, why aren't they buying, what do I know about them, how am I joining up that data into like my CRM or CDP or with my PMS data, so I get a really rich profile of my guests. Because the richer your guest profile, the better you understand them and what they're coming for, the more likely you are to be able to then in the future generate content, answers, responses that will interact with AI LLMs at scale.
So it's almost like same as it ever was, right? We've spoken about personalisation and the need for data for donkey's years, excuse the phrase, and being able to then personalise guest experience and their stays to also, I guess, have incremental revenue gains as well over the piece.
Yeah, I think so. Same as it ever was in terms of, yes, the value of personalisation. The difference is we now finally have like a little key, a little unlock that means, wow, personalization at scale is likely to be possible in a way it never was before. And I can give and that's happening today already, right? That's not a pipe dream. I can look at our business. We have teams of salespeople who annoy hoteliers, I'm sure, every day by reaching out to them. We all get a million emails, and it is now possible for us to use AI sales development reps, SDRs, AI SDRs, like instead of humans, to do automated out at scale by going onto somebody's LinkedIn profile, looking at everything you can find out about them on the web, and then tailoring messages and emails automatically. Like, you can now do that one-to-one marketing, which, it's been 20 years of talking about one-to-one marketing, and now finally it's kind of here, because you can, first of all, interpret the signals about a particular individual, and then you can actually personalize in real time what you're going to show them or say to them. And I think that's really exciting. But again, it all comes down to, if you haven't got really good quality data pipelines and ingesting the right information, saving it in a useful way, and golden profiles and all that sort of thing, then I think you're not going to be able to take advantage of those tools as they become more widely adopted.
Sure, thank you. And again, given the experience of your customers, I guess sometimes one of the overlooked benefits of AI is that it sort of empowers non-specialists. What are you seeing in terms of AI and hotel teams? Is it allowing them to act faster, do more without extra headcount? What are people saying to you? Or are they thinking, I don't know, I need to hire a head of AI and data and so on? And what's the view?
So I think there's pretty consistent across multiple industries, right? There are early adopters, and there are people kind of who are on the wait and see, and there's people who played with AI 6 months ago and didn't find it particularly useful, and so they haven't adopted, they're not using it every day in their work, because they haven't realized that, wow, it's in such a different place today than it was 6 months ago. So I think, first of all, it's worth saying, like, there aren't many easy generalizations, because I think people are in very different places. I don't think in general we're finding that hoteliers have sort of started to make a significant like hold on headcount or changes to any headcount because of AI tools. I just simply don't think that's where we're at or likely to be. I think the key thing we're seeing, and again, I think it's sort of generally consistent across other industries too, is people are saying, how can I use these AI tools to augment, to empower, to deliver so much more? And I think it's probably likely to sort of continue in that way. You know, we've had AI tools helping revenue managers for years with good machine learning models. We, with our personalisation tools, have been having machine learning running in the background that helps people, and so I think that's just extended. And I think at the moment everyone's much more focused on, you know, how can I use the tools to make people more productive, to upskill people faster, to help them utilize the tools we've invested in as a industry and get more value out of them. So I think that's kind of what we're seeing.
Sure, and I guess not everyone is sitting there obsessed with AI. In terms of what your teams are telling you and the conversations you're having with senior hotel professionals, I guess they're still, you know, they still got challenges around OTA commissions and fragmented tech and resources and all sorts. Would that be the case? You know, it's still the long-standing issues and trends. Yeah.
People have got real world goals that they've got to hit to get their sort of hit their annual target or whatever it happens to be. They've got to deliver heads in beds. They've got to reduce the commissions, and a lot of that isn't going to wait for the perfect AI solution to get here. So you're right, definitely. The standard, the important daily work continues, and it's just like adding on bits around the edge. I think is probably the best way to think of it at the moment.
Sure. I think you mentioned you look after, you've got, is it 12,000 customers? Was that right? The figure you just gave me? And I don't know how that's split, but are you seeing the adoption around AI more of an uptick in different parts of the world, like the geography, like whereabout? Just talk about that split and where you're seeing maybe different uses or use cases of AI.
I'm slightly hesitant to talk in a way that suggests I've done a robust survey of different countries.
Sure.
And have a
even anecdotal, I guess, might be useful.
Yeah, anecdotally, it definitely feels to me that tends to be the larger hotel groups who have digital teams. We're tending to see them like push a bit harder and faster than say independent hotels or a couple of hotels. They just simply don't have the headspace or the teams to go after it. I'd say the first adoption we're seeing is like mid-market hotel chains where they've got digital teams and they can try stuff, and then also I think Western Europe and the US are definitely making faster progress at testing and trying things. But then also those tend to be the customers or the hotel groups that are being pitched new innovative services more frequently by some of the sort of market leaders in hotel tech. And I think a lot of the innovation is also being collaboratively done alongside tech vendors. So I think there's some bias, I guess, is what I'm saying. It's not that an independent hotelier might not be pushing ahead more quickly. And I think one of the things that really jumps out at me, and I found this even in the last 3 months more and more, is there were tools we were having to use, and this is even internally or with hoteliers, there were tools we were having to use that were quite complicated and sophisticated 6 months ago, and the quality of what you can get out of just simple prompting with reinforcements of prompt evolution over time has just like constantly improves. And so I was talking this week, we've got a whole bunch of automations that are running with clever automation stroke AI tools like Gumloop and NAN. There's a whole bunch of those that now I can just put into a Gemini gem, which is like a single prompt. I can post it. Anyone in the team can go and run the prompt, rerun it, and we have a way of like that prompt learning and evolving over time. There's just so much more accessible, and that's just in a matter of months. So I guess now that that's happening, I think it's harder than ever to see and assess where different people are at, because you might be using the simplest of tools, but using them really effectively day in, day out, and you might be getting more value out of some of these AI tools than someone who's kind of gone deep into one of the systems that produces all sorts of automations. I hope that kind of makes sense, but it's like it's not just how many tokens you're using that means you're getting the best value out of AI.
Sure. And we've got a pretty fragmented, I guess, tech landscape, you could say, right? There's a plethora of propositions, platforms out there that all profess to be the best at what they do, and why wouldn't they? And maybe they are. If someone, this is your chance to talk about Triptease and how.
Oh, thank you, Dan. That's right.
If someone's sitting there thinking, right, where do I start? How do I assess these platforms, specifically in relation to direct bookings? Because I think generally, they accept that they want to get them more direct bookings. Where should they start? What should they look at? How do they assess the different tools that are available? Because just from an average layman, it does seem that, not every day, but there are so many tools out there. Give us a flavour of how you think they should assess all the platforms available.
We're going to go with a broad point that hopefully is useful in general, and then I'll come.
Yeah.
So a broad point, because I thought you were going to ask about if I'm looking and buying any hotel tech, what should I be thinking in this new world we're in? Yep. First thing you would be thinking, and I guess actually this is especially with PMS, CRS, booking engine kind of purchases, which isn't what we do. But the first thing you're going to be thinking about is, I need to future-proof my ability to innovate. The speed of evolution and innovation is like off the charts, and it's just only going to accelerate. And one of the greatest impairments to this industry, to like getting people to book direct, to hoteliers having power and great digital expertise, one of the greatest sufferings for the last 15, 20 years has been that there are various hotel tech vendors in the industry who operate like a kind of closed wall, right, around your data. And so if you're buying into a CRS or a PMS or some other system, and they're not completely open and with open APIs and they're not charging you every single time another vendor wants to use your data, like that's absolutely the key, right? Data is going to drive the best interactions, one-to-one personalization and value out of AI. And so if you're buying from a vendor who's kind of like, well, I'm just going to charge you every time I've got to push the data out, what will happen is other vendors won't work with them, and you'll be behind the innovation curve, and you get locked in. And so my number one bit of advice right now is really go hard when you're negotiating with CRS or PMS on what is availability of accessibility of data and connections, and make sure there aren't like these hidden fees which really stifle innovation in a surprising way. So anyway, that's my first point, because I think hoteliers too often aren't aware of those when they're making the big decision about buying a system. Like those things get hidden. So I think that's really key. And then specifically with direct bookings, I mean, this is really hard because people are in such different places, right? There are a huge proportion of hotels who are on poor quality, substandard booking engines. They're getting conversion rates of 3% when there are booking engines out there that can be giving them 5 or 6. So you've got to have like the base tech kind of ready to go. And then the next thing that's singularly most important is think about the guest journey and go and experience it, right? I always say, if you want to know what you need to do on your website, the first thing to do is, walk into a Starbucks, offer to buy a random person a cup of coffee and say, please, can you try and book a room on my hotel using your phone, and just watch them do it. Like watching real people who aren't in the industry try to book and listening to what they're saying and their issues. That will tell you the first 5-10 things you need to fix for your hotel. But when I think about the guest journey, right, people are making 2 decisions. Their first decision is, which hotel do I want to book? And then when it comes to direct bookings, the second decision is, and what channel am I going to book it on? And the number one thing that drives that channel booking decision is, do you have the best price? People would prefer to book with the hotel so long as it has the best price. So making sure your price is available in Meta and making sure you have the best price in Meta is the kind of absolute like critical thing to get right. And so like that's one of the things we've been obsessed about for a decade, is tracking every single price that different OTAs are charging, and then now automatically matching the prices if you're ever undercut, because OTAs, Booking, Expedia, often they only undercut you by 2 or 3%. And so making sure that you match that in real time so you're never beaten is like one of the key bits to direct. So yeah, that's if that's something you care about and believe in, then please come chat.
Sure. Thank you. It's interesting you mentioned the decade, because I think we were talking sort of off air that it's been 10 years pretty much since you started this journey. It'd be remiss of me not to ask you, when you first started out compared to where it is today, what's been the biggest change, do you think, in the conversations that you've been having with customers?
Gosh, there's a lot more things that are consistent than there are things that have changed.
Or consistent. Answer it in a way you wish.
Okay, the consistent thing is lack of interoperability against systems. It's the data silos and how much that's slowing us down. And the consistency is parity and the importance of having the best price. The things that's changed, I think the awareness and understanding of the value, therefore, of open APIs, of having systems that can connect. And I think that we're just seeing the understanding that, wow, I really can now build a deep, rich profile of my guests, both individuals and also of like key segments. But to do that and to then to be able to activate it and use it means I have to have systems like my personalization software on my website, or my CRS, or my CRM that speak together, my RMS automatically having an impact on where I'm spending ads. That integration level, I think 10 years ago, people kind of dreamt of it, and now it's like real, and it's like I can expect it, and I want to see how that integration works. So I'd say that's the shift, is we've moved into a much more integrated across, and I guess a lot of that was driven by the shift to commercial strategy amongst hotel teams sort of post-COVID, whereas I need my revenue and marketing team, sales team to be much better aligned. That's the answer. It got me a while to get there, but it was that shift to commercial strategy has driven everything.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you to flip forward 5 years. If we were sitting on this channel in 5 years' time, where do you think we'll be with regards to sort of the role of direct bookings and how people are sort of trying to generate more?
I think the potential for the one-to-one personalized interactions to change the nature of hospitality is crazy exciting. So just yesterday, I was speaking to a friend. He used ChatGPT to help plan a trip. And then he thought to himself at the end, oh, it now really knows everything I want from the trip. He booked his hotel and he just sent the hotel an email. I asked ChatGPT to create a PDF of everything that I'm doing on my trip. I thought you should know what we care about and why we're coming to your hotel. And he sent it to the hotel. So that's, I'm not saying everyone's going to do that, right? That's kind of proactive, but it's an early indicator of what the potential is. Like the system, ChatGPT instantly was able to say, okay, here's a page on everything I know about you and why you're coming and what you're interested in. So it's like really effortless to get that extra document. And then the potential for the hotel to say, wow, okay, he really likes cycling, and these are the evenings he's going to be arriving tired and whatever these issues are, or he's going to need somewhere to lock his bike up. And then improve hospitality because they just understand the guest better. Like that's really exciting. I think that is that's where we're heading.
Sure, thank you. Coming to the end, Triptease are taking part in NoVacancy in February in London and Excel as an exhibitor, and you've got a speaking session. I think Clemens, your EMEA head, is going to be speaking in one of our theatres. In general, what excites you about having Triptease at these sorts of events? Why is it important to you? And then I guess secondly, what can visitors expect when they meet the Triptease team at NoVacancy?
Okay, I have a few different answers on that one. So number one, nothing beats face-to-face. We live in a virtual world, and yet there's nothing quite like meeting people. Number two, that's just from a pure business point of view, because I think it's just fascinating. The prevalence of AI, like SDRs, as I mentioned earlier, right? Automated messaging and emails means that the amount of spam and crap we all get daily has accelerated, not 10x, but 100x. And that's only going to carry on. And so suddenly the value of the in-person is actually going to go up. And we're definitely seeing that in terms of how we connect to hoteliers. And that's great news, right? Because that drives a lot of hotel bookings, so everyone should be happy. The AI slop is going to drive offline, real world, face to face, and yeah, for us, it's always an opportunity when you're having those face to face conversations and you're really listening to what are someone's problems, issues, like what they like, what they don't, whether it's about your product or other people's products.
Sure.
Subtle nuances that you pick up from facial expressions, from language, from those conversations, it like always beats what we find you get on the phone or anything else. So that's one of the key things we get is when we finish going to events like NoVacancy, we make sure we write up what are all the subtle things we learned and make sure that everyone in the whole team then learns from those.
Sure. Perfect. Thank you. Charlie Osmond, co-founder of Triptease. Congratulations on your first 10 years. Here's to the next 10 years. And we appreciate your time today.
Great. Thank you.